Today's review is the Zodiac Super Seawolf World Time Limited Edition. This is the reference ZO9410. It retails for $1,795 and was inspired by the original aerospace World Time from 1970. Now, I'd like to pay Zodiac a compliment for taking a really cool design from a different era, from over 50 years ago, not supersizing it while bringing it into, the 2020s and infusing it with a loud red color scheme alongside that silvered sunray opaline dial. It ends up looking very bold, very retro, and it's a little bit different. It has a nice style to it, and that's something that Zodiac does well. They take retro designs and they are just unashamed in infusing them with color and with flavor to almost an obnoxious degree. Whereas another brand, it just might look forced, it might look silly, it might look off-putting. But with Zodiac, again, there's a flair to it. There's a style to the retro execution, and I like it. I respect that. And so my favorite Zodiac is actually the neon green color configuration of the Super Seawolf GMT. That one just speaks to me, and I know I'm not alone. A lot of you guys like the creamsicle, you like the watermelon, you like the neon green, and I'm right there with you. Zodiac has some talent in recreating some of these vintage references in unexpected color schemes. Now, let's talk about the size here. 40.2 millimeters of diameter with a 48.0 overall lug-to-lug dimension. 13.7 is the case height. And then we have a 20 millimeter lug width and a dramatic taper on this stepped oyster-style bracelet to 16 millimeter, where it connects to this substantial milled clasp. And I will say, I like the seamless integration of the flip lock. I like that milled ovular opening underneath the logo on the flip lock. But I think one of the coolest and unheralded features of this release, it's not found on their website, is actually these spring-loaded links that are found on both sides of this clasp where the bracelet connects to the clasp. And so you get a little bit of travel associated with those spring-loaded links, and I think that's an uncommon feature that I appreciate. We have 200 meters of water resistance, a domed sapphire crystal, anti-reflective treatment, and then the crystal material over the bezel is not sapphire. This is hardened K1 mineral crystal. We have super luminova for the lume application. And admittedly, the lume is rather poor. It's not a selling feature here. It doesn't have decent longevity. It doesn't have impressive potency. But then again, it's a retro-inspired world time. It's not a dive watch, even though we do have that 200 meters of water resistance and a screw-down crown. I mentioned the spring-loaded links. We also have a quick-release end-link system for this bracelet, which are great if you want to take this bracelet off and play with straps. Put it on leather, put it on mesh, put it on Perlon, or whatever you're feeling. I know a lot of you that watch me, you really enjoy playing with straps. In this case shape, I think is very versatile. It's the right size with the presence, with the weight, with the level of finish for the price, so I can get enjoyment from it while I'm wearing it, but it doesn't feel cumbersome. It doesn't look out of proportion. I don't get lug overhang. Again, it's a good palette to play with if you like playing with straps and changing the look of your watch. Now let's talk about how to use the World Time feature, because it looks a little bit complicated, but it's actually very simple and it's actually pretty fun. So what you'll want to do is take your independently adjustable red GMT hand, and you can access that via the crown, the screw down crown at the 3 o'clock position. You'll want to move that so the proper time for your time zone is displayed on that black 24-hour index on the circumference of the dial. Now, once you've done that, all you'll need to do is take the bezel, which is bidirectional rotating, and rotate it so that the proper time zone for your city is displayed for the proper hour of the time zone that you're in. Once you've done that, you've synchronized the other 23 time zones to be in alignment. And so at a glance, I can see, okay, it's this time in Dubai, it's this time in Moscow, it's this time, in Anchorage where I grew up, or Singapore. It's very easy to read the time at a glance. at any time zone in the world after it's been synchronized. Now, keep in mind, let's say you're wearing this watch and you want to take a look at what time it is in La Paz 6 hours later. You'll need to resynchronize with that rotating bezel so that your time zone is properly displayed on that 24-hour index. Now, let me talk about a couple differences between this Super C Wolf World Time and my favorite Zodiac, the Super C Wolf GMT in the neon green. Now, I did gift this neon green watch to my father. He was in town, he was visiting, I was showing him my watch collection, and he, like me, was drawn toward the neon green, and he thought it looked really sharp. So I ended up gifting that watch to him. But, it's important to look at a couple of the differences between that one and this World Time, because I think it works in the favor of this World Time limited edition. So one difference is if you look at the bracelet, you guys can see a brushed center link, which is in contrast to the PCLs of the neon green. And I like the brush finish. I think it helps accentuate this opaline dial, the silver sunray execution, the bold color of the red. I think it looks a little bit sharper and it will hide wear and tear a little easier than the polished surface of the PCLs. And so I like that. And that finish is also replicated on the dial details. And so your handset is very subtly brushed. Your applied markers, your faceted appliques are brushed. And I think they actually grab a little bit more light in play. They have some more depth to them, some more visual interest than the polish finish on the neon green. So a couple little details that I think are a little bit nicer on the World Time, even though I like the neon green more personally. And because we have the inclusion of that black 24-hour index, it places the lume markers, the applique, everything inward a little bit to a small degree. So if you look at the face of the watch, it feels a little bit more balanced, feels a little bit more full, and I think a little bit more proportional in conjunction or in comparison to the neon green GMT, which has a little bit more negative space or white space on the real estate of the watch. Now I'm going to show you the box and the papers and stuff real quick, and then we'll talk about areas for improvement as we wrap up this video. But you guys can see a really sharp box. I like the fact that you get color-coded packaging and a microfiber cloth that is color matched. And I think that shows that they understand the small, overlooked details that are important to us as crazy watch enthusiasts. So I think it's a pretty cool little package. Let's talk about the areas for improvement. The big one for me, I would like to see that Swiss-made Soprod C125 Caliber through a display case back. We have a simple polished case back in stainless steel. There certainly is nothing wrong with the execution, but it's a little bit boring. And anytime I'm spending over $1,000 at retail, and especially if it's my first time at this price segment, I want to feel like I'm maximizing my value, what I'm spending. I'm getting more, than a different watch, a different model, a different brand, and seeing the movement, seeing the sharp finishing here, seeing the Zodiac logo in the rotor, I think would help with that value proposition, especially for the first time, luxury purchaser. So I'd like to see that. The other thing, while you're at it, replace that polymer movement holder with a metal spacer. Again, that's personal preference, but I think it helps the feel of the watch and it won't add that much weight to the overall execution. Now, for good measure, I would love to see a lumed bezel. Again, we have bold colors here, and it's not practical to read a World Time in low light, but it's the cool factor. It's the satisfaction factor for the watch enthusiast. Just a little detail that we would appreciate, that we would think is cool, that we would go to our spouse or our girlfriend and turn off the light and say, hey, look at this. Look how cool this watch looks. It's the little things. I think that could be really fun. And do it in BGW9. I think that would be a little bit more satisfying than a standard Super Luminova. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think of the Zodiac Super C Wolf World Time Limited Edition. Do you like this case? Do you like this complication? Do you like the bold use of flavor? What do you think of this model? And let me know if you have any specific questions. I would be happy to try to help if you place those in the comment section. Thank you for watching. Thank you to Jared at Zodiac at the Fossil Group for working with me, working with my channel. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time.